Welcome back to Northwest Elite Spirit, the channel you come to train your mind, body, and spirit. I'm Coach Brian. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, do that now and make sure to ring that notification bell to stay up to date on all of my newest releases. This is the art of shadow boxing. Today was sprint intervals and technique. I just got done with sprint intervals and walked my way over here to practice technique, and so you can see me recovering there a little bit. Today I'm just thinking about how to translate for a student finding themselves in different directions, left, right, forward, backward, and what options we have from each of those places: high, middle, and low. Starting off with some footwork here. Going high, middle, and low. Thinking about the overhand right up close, knees up close, short inside kick up close, and then we're a little further away, so I'm throwing the ones and twos. And it really helps to start to develop for yourself an imagination or an ability to visualize a person right in front of you. And they're throwing things, and they're catching things, or they're avoiding things. And so since we're going low, mid, high, not necessarily in that order, I'm like, well, what does a low strike on this shadow I have in front of me look like, and where is it landing? And if I'm throwing a high strike on this shadow that I'm fighting, where is it landing? If you have an opponent in the future, you can put your opponent's shadow in front of you and imagine them moving, how they move. I'm not going too fast, nice and relaxed. Like I said, I'm trying to think of how to communicate these things to a student of mine. And so if I'm here, what can I do here if they attack here? And it's the same, we're also thinking about low, middle, and left and right attacks coming from them. And so you'll see like pivots, you'll see footwork that has me at a different angle than I was. When I shadow box, and when I do any of these things, I can get really hyped up. And so I try to take that energy and relax it down into these break periods. You see me moving here. I'll try to tamp that down and be still by the end of each break. And kind of channel that hype that I get and that energy that I get into focus. And begin the next round focused. I don't have a timer going here. I'll just count to 60 Mississippi pretty much. And I've gotten pretty good at getting close to a minute rest in between each rounds. So again, just starting off, finding ways to change that movement or that direction in efficient ways, and not just in pursuing the opponent, but also setting the opponent up for whatever it is that you might have waiting for them over there or back there. Thinking about head movement because an opponent is throwing strikes, so I can imagine a strike coming at me and having to get out of the way. I have to be realistic with my imagination, and this is where having, like when you have partners, having realistic partners come into play. It's easier to imagine a glove or a hand coming straight at your chin when you shadow box, if when you spar, you have somebody who's willing to throw punches at your chin or at your body or at your legs and actually make you get out of the way. Shadow boxing too for me is like more playful. I can experiment and be a little more loose. Yeah, practicing some sort of answer to a low strike. Working my way in or working my way out with head movement, footwork. And since like I'm teaching this person kickboxing, yet you'll see me do some quick turnarounds where it would be unrealistic for a kickboxer to end up behind me that fast. But it is a martial art, and so it's always good to be able to turn and look behind you when in, say, a random fight breaks out. Or you get jumped or something like that. It's good to be able to switch directions, and it's good for any martial artist to be aware of all their options from each position. Again here, just settling myself down. If I get whipped up, I go and I center myself. You see me moving there just because I'm still like a bit amped up. Just breathe and calm it down. Get control of that energy. Now it's time to go, and we start again. So yeah, if you were to cut right, what's available low, what's available high, what's available mid, how are you getting to those positions? You might have to go high and go low to reach that mid section, or even that high section. You may have to come up from below, from low to high. And so how, even though at each distance or at each angle, how am I getting from low to high, high to low, or just how am I getting to those positions, low, mid, and high? And how am I defending anything that might come in from those positions? The student is good at like going low high, so I'm thinking here what's something that she can do to go low high from a spot that she's already doing well at. The dog is a bit of a shameless plug. I know dogs get views, dogs hype up the algorithm, but this is Jewel, and she's with me pretty much everywhere I go. If I run, she runs. If I'm out shadow boxing, she's hanging out next to me. If I'm out working out, she's next to me. A lot of experimenting in shadow boxing. I'm not like trying to win shadow boxing. I'm just trying to feel some things out. See how they go. Find my balance. Find those paths that give me the best balance and keep me on the best balance. You see, some of these things, you may throw those, and if you don't have balance, you'll tip right over or get knocked right over. So we're trying to do things with balance. And also we practice for ambidexterity, so you will see me often switch between orthodox and unorthodox. This footwork that you've been seeing me do, I also practice it everywhere I go. I try to make my footwork that I use in life also footwork I can use in the other things that I do. And so I'll be moving around the grocery store, I'll be moving around the post office, I'll be moving around the house using this footwork. And that way, when it comes time to practice for something else, it comes more natural. Finding my center, calming down. Been reading a book of 5 rings by Miyamoto Musashi, and he's talking about the directions and the levels. So he's talking about forward, back, side, side, low, mid, high. And so that's the homework right now, is to think about these things and see how they apply to anything that we're doing. He talks about making your fighting footwork the same as your footwork in life. That way it blends in seamlessly and instinctually. I don't think that this footwork necessarily is odd. I think it's just taking different things and putting them together in a way. They're practical things that from different arenas, I guess. And you put them together and they go together pretty seamlessly. And so on the ambidexterity tip, we don't want to have a preference in which leg or which hand is forward. With practice, you'll be strong, fast, and precise just as much on one side as the other. It just takes repetition. And there is, I have found cause to believe that getting better on your non-dominant side makes you even better on your dominant side. And they build off of one another. And things begin to have far more balance and come far more smoothly. When I shadow box, I do like to find beautiful places. I don't necessarily like to shadow box in dojos or in gyms, though I will if I have to. Should be willing to put in the work no matter where you're at. I emphasize this when we begin something like combat sports or even say kickboxing cardio, where you're not training for combat. There's a tendency to get all whipped up, and when break time comes, to stay all whipped up and moving around and being all excited. And I'd encourage you to begin experimenting with calming down and channeling that energy. Keeping the energy, but channeling it into your next round, or into your next lap, or into your next mile, whatever it is you're working on. So here, yes, it's shadow boxing, but I'm getting in place for a throw using the same footwork. And again, so we're just experimenting, like, if I were going to teach her how to do a throw, what would that look like? How would she get in there? What would the footwork be, and what would the levels be? So you see me here, low, mid, mid, low. Being a little more snappy now, warmed up, recovered from the sprints a little bit. It's my non-dominant side. It's getting better, but it's still stiff and clunky. getting up there though. I call this not so fancy footwork. It looks like I'm doing something fancy at times, but I'm really not. I'm just moving my feet in some practical ways that I've learned from different arts. Aikido, wrestling, judo, karate, all the things. You can find my books, The ABCs of Strength and Endurance and Running Made Easy, on Amazon and Kindle. Thank you.